So here we are live at the September EC3CON Uncas Ballroom Preview Show. I am your host, Scott, the promoter and owner of EC3, and I have a awesome guest, 2013 World Series champ, Jonny Gomes. Jonny, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I mean, geez, you got this place packed. This is awesome. 200 tables or something like that. There's a lot of heat in there.
There is, yeah. So we, a little backstory about us quick. We started with just 60 tables 2.5 years ago, and we really do this for our fans and for our collectors.
Yeah.
Right? All the effort that we have to put behind the scenes to get the vendors, work with autographed guests like yourself, right? Celebrities. It just gives me like just the chills inside talking about it because my passion for giving the fans an experience is the same thing as the experience you gave fans as a player.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I've gone to some of these, and it's just a collab of, the guy who collects the old stuff, right? And then the guy who's chasing the one-of-one Otanis and Bobby Witts of the new stuff.
Exactly.
And it's you don't really get those two at a ball game or ever. So I mean, you get the old salty, 50s, 60s stuff, and then he's talking to the young kid that's just getting into it.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's a great mold of fans and history at events like this.
And we appreciate you for taking the time to come out here and meet the fans.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of fans had a great experience with you here today.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, these are different than just like a standard like signing or like player appearance.
Right.
Because no one's here on accident, right? Like you are a sports fan, you're deep, you're invested.
Correct.
You're walking around with your suitcase, So it's pretty cool. And then everyone's got their different stories of who they collect. And, are they here to buy, are they here to trade, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So taking a moment to talk about, your career as a player, like what was some of the most fun you had as a player for the fans?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was fortunate, fortunate and unfortunate, to bounce around. So I played, for a while, 12 years, 6 different teams, also played in Mexico, also played in Alaska, been to the DR, been to London, Seoul, South Korea, played in Mexico, I said that, in Japan. So really just having the opportunity to like travel the globe because of this great game, of baseball. And it really is a worldwide game. You're starting to see that, more and more with the WBC,
Yep.
Right? Which is basically like the Olympics for baseball. But yeah, there's fans worldwide, man. You go down to places that don't speak any English and, they love you for your passion and, hitting homers works worldwide.
That actually gives me a little bit of chills too, right?
Yeah.
Because like the passion that I have for the events here is the same passion that you have to see those places and give fans an experience of an awesome ball game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, they pack the house. Everywhere I've been, they pack the house and it's great. I do this thing, it's the Home Run Derby X where we're traveling around like minor league teams now, bringing the fans out, which is great. Some old ex-major leaguers, and we'll also have like some softball gals and then some, entertainers. So it's real cool, man. I'm a baseball rat, still doing anything baseball.
That's awesome. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
So speaking of all the baseball experience, let's take a moment back to the 2013 World Series. You hit a pivotal home run that changed that series.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Yeah, man. I mean, fast forward to now, it was life-changing, right? To be able to get a World Series ring and to be able to win, a World Series for probably, one of the biggest fan bases in all of sports. There's fan bases and then there's nations. We call it like Sox Nation, right? It's almost a religion up there. But yeah, that homer, it turned my life around. Not turned my life around, but changed my life. And, etched in Red Sox history, which is pretty cool.
And I'm sure like in the moment, the excitement of doing your job in that moment of hitting that home run and creating such a fun atmosphere was great for you and the team.
Yeah, it was great, man. I mean, we kind of had our back against the wall, so it was a pivotal moment. 3-run home run, and then I was kind of biased, but once I went over the fence, I knew we had a ring coming our way pretty short. But, yeah, I mean, it was a long season. You go back to, the Boston Marathon bombing with the adversity during that. But, yeah, what an awesome team.
Yeah, and I mean that's I think when we think back to World Series teams, you don't always really connect that, right?
Right.
So the final out being at home for the
Yeah.
fans, how did that feel when you think about everything that happened that season?
Yeah, so previously the Red Sox won in '07 and '04, and then way long ago, and all those, they clinched on the road. So we were the first to clinch at home, and you don't know really what to expect. Are they going to like storm the field, or what's going to happen? But I mean, these fans were just so emotional. I
Right.
mean, they were cheering all stuff, but you saw tears, like real tears.
Oh yeah,
You know, um,
the true
yeah,
fan.
yeah, it was like an emotional roller coaster. It was the high of the high, but then you look at someone who was just like all choked up and emotional of happy tears.
Which, as a
Yeah.
fan, I will say this, especially to see the team win at home.
Yeah.
I've always been like, can you guys just lose one extra one on the road,
Yeah.
right? Bring it home and bring it home for real.
Yeah.
But you also don't want that risk of losing the series either, just because, right? And
Yeah, you got to play to win every game you can, but I mean, home field advantage, you have to lose one or two on the road to get back home to clinch at home. But I was on the 15 Royals team too, the World Series team, and we clinched in New York.
right.
But yeah, it was a different feel. It was. I mean, we can't really World Series, but
Well,
clinching
you're
at
given
home
that
is different.
disappointment on the road,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even if it is an area that brings both sides of the fans.
Yeah.
Like, not baseball, but the other night, right? Indiana was here with Caitlin Clark against the Connecticut Sun. The Connecticut Sun clinched the best of three at home here, which was great for the fans
Right.
that were here. But
Yeah.
those stands were filled with Indiana fans too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you can just feel the air escape when you're on the road like that
Right,
and
right.
clinch it.
Got to win as many as you can. I can't take it away. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome to be able to clinch in such a historical, venue as Fenway is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now I got one last question for you. What was a fun locker room story or something that like was memorable for you, whether it was another player that just gave you like a great experience, whether it was you giving someone else a great experience to like be a leader?
Yeah. I mean, I bounce around. I always go to like my first, right? Because, I was kind of like a grinder guy. Nothing was a guarantee. But my first big league camp with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, to my right was Fred McGriff, and to my left was Tino Martinez. And I mean, that's like 50 years of pro ball right there.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was 21 years old, and they were just talking over me. And I mean, I learned more in those like 2 months than maybe the rest of the whole tour. But yeah, my first big league camp, sharing lockers, to my left, Tino Martinez, to my right, Fred McGriff, and kind of just molded me to be the player the rest of the way.
That's awesome. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'll have to ask you this one. Are you a Celtics fan as well?
I mean, I'm a sports fan. I think, having a ring, in the Boston area, you got to follow all four of the major ones here. I am from Northern California.
Okay.
So my roots go to the Oakland A's, to the Niners, to
Okay,
the
that's fair.
Warriors, and the Sharks.
But
Yeah.
along the lines of the Celtics, we can agree that a guy like Scal was probably the same way for players,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A lot of people don't realize the impact he had as a leader,
Yep.
right? The same thing that you had around you and that you were able to give to others.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't really strive to be a leader, right? It kind of just gets thrown on you.
Yep.
And then you want to, it's not the burden, but it's the accountability.
Right.
And there's nothing better than, just leading a clubhouse of grown men, to that championship game. And, the leaders isn't always the best player, right? Because it's, an exhausting role sometimes. But, yeah, we had a bunch of leaders in 2013 for sure, and again in 2015. But some of the other places, we had to, kind of police the clubhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think while you're right, the leader role can be taxing, very rewarding.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just what regroups to get that win.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it really comes down to the manager too.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Oh, for
manager
sure.
has to find that leader and allow that leader to lead and kind of, stay out of the way at times. So a lot has to go right for a championship season.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen, I truly appreciate your time for coming
course.
out here today.
Of course. Yeah.
I know you had a lot of great fan interactions, and that's
Yep.
exactly what we love to see. So I
Yeah.
appreciate your time
Of
coming out
course.
here.
I'd love to come back.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
All right.